Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's panel discussion from Classroom to Career Faculty Discussion on AA Majors and Careers. I'm Madeline Eichelberger, Muscatine Community College student. I'm studying Vet Tech. I'm also Vice President of the MCC Student Senate and MCC Student Ambassador. I'll be your panel moderator for today. We're thrilled to have you here, especially those of you who are still exploring your academic interests or considering a change in your direction. This is your space to ask questions, get inspired, and discover how your curiosity can shape your future. If you haven't already, be sure to grab a slice of pizza because we have way too much. Joining us today are 5 outstanding faculty members from our Muscatine Community College, each representing a unique discipline: math, English, speech, psychology, history, and government. These educators don't just teach, they mentor, guide, and open doors to possibilities you may not have considered. They'll be sharing personal stories, practical advice, and insights into how their fields connect to real-world careers. Whether you're passionate about numbers, words, ideas, or people, or still figuring that out, this conversation is designed to help you see how your academic interests can evolve into exciting, meaningful career paths. So lean in, take notes, and don't be afraid to ask questions. Your journey starts here, so let's dive in. So I'm going to introduce each of our panel members and ask for a few questions to get us started. And after that, I will open the floor to additional questions. So first off, Ryan has to get going ASAP. So Ryan's going to be first. This is Ryan. Say hey, Ryan.
Hey, Ryan.
So Ryan is an instructor for speech and communication. The classes he's teaching this semester is speech, Introduction to Public Speaking and Communication, which is Introduction to Mass Media. Some of his professional background: Ryan started teaching at EICC and MCC specifically in spring of 2024. This marked his return to teaching after a 27-year absence. How dare you? During that 27-year gap, he worked in college admissions as a recruiter, director, and dean. Some fun facts that are pretty hilarious. He has ran 2 marathons. He plays the drums. He juggles. Is the Edison Junior High 8th grade ping pong champion. He loves cheesecake, donuts, potato chips, and is a fan of early 80s new wave, Britpop, and punk music. So when Ryan was asked what motivates you in your work or career journey, he said, watching students learn a skill that can potentially help them for the rest of their personal and professional life. So I'm going to ask him some questions here first, so that way he can get out of here. Uno momento.
Sacramento. What is the Mississippi River?
All right, Ryan, I'm going to hand you this microphone. So why did you choose your field of study?
Great question. Thank you for having me, Maddie. And again, my apologies. I won't be able to stay for the full panel as I actually have to go teach a class. So my apologies for rushing off here. So why did I choose the career path that I'm in now? Is that the question?
Your field of study.
So very quickly, like many of you, I started off at the community college. I'm a Quad City native. I went to Blackhawk College, and I started off with aspirations to be a radio disc jockey. I have a big mouth. I've always had the gift of gab. I have a passion for music, so I thought that was a great way to kind of marry those two things. So while at Blackhawk, that was the training I was doing, but I quickly learned that radio disc jockeys don't really make a lot of money. And for the first several years of your career, you're probably going to be working at a radio station in, Armpit, Montana. And that didn't sound overly appealing. So I shifted gears and stayed within the communication realm and thought that I was going to become a teacher. What I'm doing now. Fast forward a few years, while I was in grad school, I did an internship in the admission office at Northern Illinois University in DeKalb, Illinois, and that just parlayed into becoming an admission counselor, which then parlayed into a 27-year career in admission counseling. I was basically a recruiter that went out to speak with high school students to get you to recruit to my college. So for the students here, if you remember those folks that came to your high school and you could get a pass and you could come down and you could talk to them about their college, that's what I did. And then just about 3.5 years ago, I decided I wanted a career shift and I wanted to get back to my original intention, which was to teach. So I made a career shift and stayed within higher education, but got out of the admission calling and came back to teaching. I am very thankful that I made that move.
Awesome. Thank you. The second question I have for you is why should we consider a career in what you are doing?
So here's what I'll say to that is communication is quite honestly the most generic degree you can get, and I mean that in a good way. In that, regardless of what career path you go down, you're going to need communication skills, and that's both oral communication skills as well as written communication skills. And one of the things I can share with you is in my time in admissions as a director and dean, I've probably interviewed 8 bajillion people. And those people that rose to finalist positions for particular positions were those people that had the best communication skills, right? They could advocate for themselves. They had a great handle on the English language and vocabulary, and their writing skills were also extremely proficient. In almost every instance, those were the candidates, regardless of the nature of the job, that almost always became floated up to the top of the list. So, from my perspective, regardless of whether you're going into a STEM-related field, a traditional science field, social sciences, doesn't matter. A communication background is going to benefit you greatly.
Awesome. And the last question I have for you today are what are some careers that we can expect in the field? You kind of already answered it, but
So very quickly on that, I'll say is communication again being rather broad. If you're someone like me that has the gift for gab, teaching is an avenue. Sales is an avenue. Fundraising is an avenue. Public relations. My bachelor's degree is actually a BA in speech communication with a minor in journalism and a specialization in public relations. So if you want to work on the marketing PR side of corporate America, nonprofit, education sector, again, those communication skills are going to help you in any of those avenues. There's almost nothing that you can't apply your communication skills toward.
awesome. Let's give Ryan a round of applause.
Am I done?
Yes. Yes, you are done.
Am I released from duty? Is that okay? Thank you.
Yes.
I'll close by saying this. Good luck to everyone. I'm going to let you know, this is my admission hat going on, is the average college student, by the way, will change their major at least 3 times. So this panel should be extremely helpful for you, but please realize you don't have to figure out what you're going to be when you grow up by the end of today. This panel should be just designed to make sure that you get thinking and you know about a lot of opportunities for you. So I say good luck to everybody.
Thank you, Ryan. So now that Ryan's gone, let's get to some interesting people. So I want to go next into Lori Shepard. So she is an associate professor for psychology and sociology. The classes that she's teaching this semester is developmental psychology, intro to psychology and sociology, industrial organization psychology. Some of her background, she has a master's degree in human services with a minor in family and marriage therapy. Very interesting. She worked at EICC since 2010. Lori started working with the HiSET program and concurrent enrollment students as an adjunct teaching introductory courses. She has taught on all of our campuses but the Clinton campus. Lori has 25 years of experience in education and social work. She is a certified life coach in grief and loss. Lori has volunteered for over 30 years in domestic violence as a peer support, court advocate, and mentor. When Lori was asked what motivates you in your work or career journey, she said, I honestly love watching people become the best versions of themselves and the thrill that comes from learning something new. I think my strongest suit is engagement with students and getting people excited to learn. I think I bring a unique style to teaching that allows students to feel heard and seen. So, there's Lori. I'm going to go through the rest of our people and introduce them, and then I will get to questions for all 3 of them. Next up down the line, we have Brian. He is a math instructor. The classes he's teaching this semester are pre-algebra, algebra 1, applied math, statistics, and calculus 3. Brian has been teaching math for the past 15 years, 10 at EICC. His goal isn't necessarily to convince students to love math, but rather to help them meet their math requirements in a painless, as way as possible because we all know math is hard. So Brian has some fun facts about him. Brian has two sons that are under the age of 8, so they keep him pretty busy. In his free time, Brian enjoys bicycles, cross country skiing, reading, board games, gardening, cooking, and eating for that matter, and generally being outside. Hooray. And lastly, we have Jeff Kaufman. He is a professor for history and government. He teaches U.S. history and government, obviously. Um, Professor Kaufman has been teaching at MCC for 37 years. He was the 2012 Community College Faculty Member of the Year for the state of Iowa. And there is only one given out per year. So that's amazing. Besides teaching history and political science, he currently works in the field and publishes, manages, and applies his classroom concepts in the real world of the subject. Professor Kaufman edits an award winning local history magazine. He is a former leader and member of the Iowa House of Representatives. Let's give a round of applause to these three people. They're doing amazing. They're sitting here very patiently. So I'm going to hand. Oh,
Sorry, I was
no, you're okay.
answering questions about some scary assignments I just gave.
And lastly, we have Carrie. She just showed up. Don't worry about that. So she's an English instructor. She teaches English composition, introduction to literature, English ALP, which is next semester, and also creative writing, which is a little plug for you guys to know about. Carrie teaches English courses at MCC campus. She is an award-winning author of short literacy fiction, creative nonfiction, poetry, and middle grade fiction. She holds a Master of Fine Arts from the University of Kansas. She has taught at the university and college level in Kansas, on the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and now here in Iowa. Welcome. It's the best state here. The most interesting place she has taught is in the prison system, which is a path within education we don't often consider. Carrie is pretty passionate about education, and she is curious about all people and their experiences, which is why she loves being in the classroom with students of all ages. Her favorite days are when students expand her understanding in unexpected ways and help her rediscover a concept. Before Carrie was an English instructor, she worked for over a decade in the fitness industry, which kept her in much better shape than teaching English does, but she likes the variety that working in education gives her. She also likes being around students because she missed her funny kids who are all grown up and live across the USA. So now I'm going to hand the microphone over and I'm going to ask a question, and we're just going to go down the line and each of you answer. If you need me to repeat, you just say that.
Now I know why no one sat on this end because now I have to be first. Okay, shoot.
All right. The first question I have for all of the rest of the panel is, why did you choose your field of study?
Mine was just kind of a natural progression. I'm one of those weird people. By the time I was 8, I was like, I want to write books and I want to be a teacher. And those two things go together really well. So it was something I was discouraged from doing because there are, people say you can't make money doing it. It's impractical. So I didn't do it for a long time. And finally, I just did it. And look, I have a job. So
I kind of went on a non-traditional route. So when I first started, I went to DMAC at first, and I flunked out my first semester. I always tell my students that because I want you to know that, like, even the people that you think are really professional sometimes have their own path too. So I started at DMAC, wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. And so I actually moved back to Indiana, and my parents were like, you should get a business degree because we've always owned businesses. And so I was going to take over my parents' business. And so I got the nice business and accounting degree and realized that even though that did give me a really good job for a really long time, that I really wanted to be more helping people and doing things. And I just didn't have some of the same goals and desires as my family did. And so I knew that whatever I wanted to do needed to be helping people. And so I actually came back with fire, I could say, and I graduated with honors and continued on, and I got a human services degree, all while raising 3 children, all on my own. And so I always tell people that no matter what your circumstances are, if you just put the effort in, and it's something that you're passionate about, you'll do well. And I'm kind of an example of that, I think. So,
College just got to be a hobby, and so I stopped because it's an expensive hobby, right? We pay to be here. My story is a little, I don't know, it's kind of weird. It's not as interesting as these people's, but uh, I went to school for a good long while. Thought I wanted to be an accountant. Picked up an accounting degree. Did an internship. Decided I didn't like it, so I stuck around and picked up a math degree. That's where it starts to get expensive when you just stick it around and pick up things for fun. So wouldn't recommend that. Um, and then I took a bunch of years off and worked at a bike shop for a long time and figured out that, hey, I always thought I wanted to be a teacher. And so I used grad school as a chance to test drive teaching, found out I loved it, and now I'm here. That's kind of my story.
When I was in high school, I was always torn between whether I wanted to do something in the liberal arts, the non-sciences, and then the sciences. So when I went to University of Iowa, I majored in history and minored in chemistry. Still didn't really know what I wanted, so applied to medical school. Actually got into medical school, and then took a 1 year leave of absence because my heart told me I didn't really want to be in medical school. And so did the ultimate, and what my brother said was financial irresponsibility, and gave up my seat in medical school and went back to school to teach history. Why am I teaching history? It's what I've loved from the very beginning. In fact, if I trace it all back, I can actually trace it back to going with my grandpa to an old family cemetery, listening to him tell stories. The job I wanted, once I decided I wanted to do history, so I wanted to teach here. This is where everybody went. I'm literally 62 years old, 37 years in the business, and I'm still in my dream job. And so happiness is the absolute key. Everything else will fall into line.
The second question for today is, why should we consider a career in what you are professing?
Well, if you like it, do it. Like I said, I was discouraged for a long time by a lot of different people from doing it, but it's what I always wanted to do. I tried to be a business major. It wasn't too hard. It wasn't like I didn't hate it. It was just like I had no passion for it. I did not care about the bottom red line or whatever that is. um, and so I just decided, even if I can't do anything with my degree, I want to study something that I love for at least 4 years. So if there's something you keep being pulled towards, maybe that's what you want to do, because you don't want to be 37 years into your job and crying every day on your way to work, I guess.
kind of on a piggyback of that, one of the things that I realized much later in life is the one thing I really like about teaching is I really struggled. When I was young, I cared much more about my social life than I did my academic life. And so as I've become an adult myself, I started to realize that your school is just one avenue to kind of build your skill set. Um, it's okay to be curious. And I think in this field, it is a lot about other people. Almost every job you're ever going to work, you're going to deal with people in some sense. Even those jobs that you think that you can do completely on your own, you will have somebody that you're either trying to make happy or someone that you're trying to work on a team with. And so I think that psychology, you learn a lot about yourself in this field, but you also have an opportunity to improve the world around you by doing that. So for me, teaching is kind of a way of giving back in ways that maybe I didn't get. And psychology to me is a lot like that too. You get to give back in some areas where maybe you didn't get that.
We're supposed to be answering. Yeah, repeat the question.
Why should we consider a career in what you profess?
Okay, I'm not here to convince you guys to go study math. If you want to, that's great. But I will say that math is oftentimes a hurdle for students, and it can be a real challenge. Um, but it can also open a lot of doors. I think one of the most valuable things you learn in a class like math, or any class for that matter that you find challenging, is the ability to take a great big problem and break it down into little, small, manageable pieces. And that's really the skill that I think you're mostly going to walk away with through your math education, at least in the collegiate environment. Because I'll use my standard joke, which is kind of weird, maybe, but I don't know how many of you guys sit around and do, well, I'm going to say fancy math words, factor polynomials in the evening, but I don't, and I don't expect you guys to either. That said, math is a requirement to go into any of the STEM related fields. So uh, it can be, it can open a lot of doors for you as well. So
A lot of you aren't going. A lot of you are going to use history for the rest of your lives, but you're not going to be history majors. Career choices in history majors, I guess we're going to talk about that later, are sometimes rather limited. But I would say the same thing that Ryan said beforehand: that a history degree or a political science degree or a degree like that can actually be a launching pad to a wide variety of for a wide variety of careers that aren't necessarily just in those fields. Here's what I would say about history, though: the best CEOs, the best nurses, the best teachers, the best social workers, the best politicians that we've got figure history into every single solitary decision that they make. The difference between a shallow decision that really doesn't last, have longevity, and a decision that really matters is a decision that's taken into an account what's succeeded in the past and what's failed in the past. And so every single one of you are going to study history for the rest of your lives. If you don't, you're not going to be living up to your full potential in terms of what it is that you can do that's best for your community and your family and such. So history is going to be a part of you, whether you like it or not, or whether you want to or not. Now, if you love it enough and you're passionate enough, you want to try to make a living, there are some ways to do that, and we'll talk about that later. But definitely some of these degrees especially in the liberal arts area, are jumping off places as much as they are an actual field of study that you're involved in heavily. So you're all going to be history students for the rest of your life.
The last question I have for our panel today is, what are some careers that we can expect in the field?
Surprisingly, there are a lot. So, English majors, a lot of times people wanting to go into law of any kind, paralegal, anything like that, start with an English degree because you really have to know your grammar. You have to know how to read documents and interpret them. You have to know how to write documents. Um, it's so that can be an important skill. I have friends who went into being book editors, book agents. If you like to read and read and read a lot and tell people what you think about it, there's a job for that. I have a good friend that I referred to my husband's company as a person that just was brilliant. She can write well, she thinks well, and he hired her and they loved her. And now she works for a giant, kind of like an Ozempic type company, writing copy for them, helping them do their branding. So we don't often think of the connection between marketing and English, but it's huge. If you can write well and put words together, that is really needed because a good tagline means a lot in marketing. Knowing how to reach an audience is something we study in English. So you don't have to just teach students how to read To Kill a Mockingbird and, or make them read poetry like I do. But you can do that, but there is a vast use of language and putting words together that robots can't do. Like they can do a lot of things, but reaching humanity at its heart is where that's where literature succeeds. And so it's still an important art.
So some of the obvious in my field are counselors, therapists. You would have to get your doctorate if you wanted to do more of the clinical side of it or in a hospital setting, but you have healthcare, social work, anything even in law enforcement. Oftentimes a psychology degree would be really good for that social work, anything like that, would be this. But one that a lot of people don't think about is human resources. So, a human resource person having the skill set of psychology background would help you in dealing with employees as well.
So I already told you to not study deliberately math, and I don't mean that. If you want to, you go do you. Um, but math is kind of the gateway. I teach math, and what is it? It's kind of the gateway to the entirety of the STEM majors, right? So you've got, if you want to be a doctor, you're going to have to go a certain way through math. You want to be a nurse, a certain way through math. You want to go be an engineer. Um, yeah, it you can do a lot. It's a good starting. I don't think a lot of us are going to go do math. Like Jeff said here, you're going to use history, but you're not necessarily going to like study it every day. You're going to use it, but not realize you're using it in your careers. That can be said of I think any of the areas we're talking about today. Um, I did think about this in advance. I promise. I'm just not very good at this game. Okay, so if you cultivate the skills while you're in college to tackle those giant problems and learn how to break things that you thought insurmountable down, it can take you in any direction you want to go, uh, whatever major there may be. I think other people have said it better than I am, and that is, if you find something you enjoy and are passionate about, go down that road a little bit and see if you continue to be such. Math can also show up in surprising ways. If you choose to pursue a graduate level degree, oftentimes you end up doing research and you'll need to learn much more about statistics than you'll learn in my intro to statistics class. So it'll show up in surprising and yeah, just surprising places.
So in terms of specific careers, like for instance, in history, working in a library, working in a local historical museum, working for a national park, working for a presidential library, being the degree that you use in order to get into law school, a political science degree, working on any amount of campaigns. There's just about any entry level job in either local government, state government, or even federal government, unless it's like the director of NASA, is not going to take a technical degree, a general degree on how political processes work and such is good enough. But here's what I would say in terms of the two biggest pieces of advice I can give you with about 7,000 students out there and several decades on the road in my life. One is the happiness factor. All of this is for naught. If you're not content. Now that doesn't mean you're going to have bad days, but if you're not content in what you're doing, if you feel you constantly have to explain away, this is what I do, but I should have done this. Some of the worst teachers I know are teachers that are constantly telling people about, well, I would teach at the University of Iowa, but you got to be content in what you do. I don't care if that's a job where you're making 25 grand a year or whether it's a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. That's number one. Number two, all of you, and you never know what's going to come. All of you are going to get an unexpected break, an unexpected moment when you make a decision, it will change everything in terms of your career. Might be somebody that you meet, just happen to sit by at a restaurant that sees a spark in you and asks you to come in and interview. It might be an opportunity that emerges that you would have never dreamed, and you don't get to pick the time, and the time is hardly ever convenient for you. And that's what you have to be ready to follow when that occurs. I've got a student right now that literally has a parking spot outside the White House. And he was sitting here just like you about 10 years ago, and there was nothing particularly special about him other than the fact he's a bright kid. Well, how did that happen? Just a series of lucky situations, and now he's got a job that even after that job is through, it's going to absolutely change his life forever. I've had a student that was at Harvard. I've had students that have washed out of school 3 or 4 times, but they kept coming back over after time after time after time, and finally found that niche that they want. I'll be honest with you, if I had somebody that was going to fix an airplane before I got on it, I'd take the kid that washed out 3 times, came back, and showed get with itness as opposed to the kid at Harvard if I had to pick between the two. So you never know when the timing's going to happen, and you're never knocked out of the game in terms of pursuing where you're at. So if you don't know what your major is right now, that's fine. If you pick a major, you pick a career and you change it, that's fine too, as long as you've got the wherewithal to earn what you have. But don't forget, someplace, sometime is going to give you a shot. Take it at that time. I don't care if it's convenient. Take it, because those shots are sometimes once a lifetime, sometimes they're 3 or 4 times in a lifetime, and sometimes they happen when you're 17, 18 years old.
Thank you. Can we give everybody a round of applause for their answers? I kind of want to put in my own little input real quick. So I'm a freshman, but I was wanting to become a police officer and completely changed what I was doing. I'm now a vet tech major, so 2 completely different things. And I've already changed it once, and I probably will change it 5 more times. But it is totally okay, and I totally agree with you about it's not always about the money, about the happiness, which is a big thing. I want to open the floor to anybody who has questions to ask anybody specifically or just in general. I'll give you a piece of candy.
Just make up something, because you'll make us feel bad if you don't ask us something. All right, there's a question back there on that winner table. One of them has one to the right has a question.
I would say, what is the favorite part of your job? Like, for all of us,
I wouldn't be surprised if we all kind of said this, but I love getting to know the students. I love them. They're so fun. They're so smart. I feel like every semester, almost every class, I feel like they teach me some little tidbit, or they'll say something and I'm just dumbfounded, like, what? I don't know. I just get a kick out of it. I always tell people I kind of like a little bit of a rowdy classroom where like people are talking and they're asking questions and they like their neighbor, and I don't want you all to sit and stare at me. So I really enjoy every day coming in and talking to young people, and I think I love the fact that all of you are here because you want more. You want to do something in the world. You want to have a good life. You want to play a good part in society, and that gives me faith in humanity. That's why you all are here intentionally. And so I love being on campus. And I was telling Jeff yesterday, I love coming in the morning, and he is just in there pontificating from the classroom about something. I love to hear it because it just makes me like, oh, education. So
I hope that I bring that to class too, like my experiences, and we can share that. I think we all need a place where we can just be seen and heard. And so I love that about this job.
I think my favorite part of my job is office hours. And that sounds weird. I like it when people come to see me. I like it when we get to sit down in the room and chat. And often what actually happens, and why I enjoy it, is people realize they know more than they think they do. They may have been getting the wrong answer, but they were making a tiny little mistake that's relatively easy to correct. And I like to see that happen for people, because we all need to realize we know more than we think we do. We can do this.
My favorite is recess and lunch. And besides that, 3 things, 3 moments. The assignment that I hand back after a student has flunked an assignment and they actually passed it. Coming back. I love that. I love that when you pass it back. They're nervous, scared, especially if they failed the first test. And you pass the assignment back right after that, and they realize they can come back. And we really are an institution of second chances in more ways than one. So that I like. Students that are getting a degree for the first time and listening to their family just scream at the top of their lungs on graduation because they're so filled with pride they just got to release it somewhere. And the smile on that student's face, number 2. And then number 3, when finally after the students just got a little bit of confidence in them, and they answer a few questions in class, or they put something in phone. When I use the word kid, I mean this in terms of endearment, so don't take this as a derogatory, but I'm 62 and I've done a whole lot of things in my life. There isn't a semester goes by I don't learn at least something new from an 18-year-old kid.
Any more questions from anybody? Yeah. Any regrets?
I've got lots of regrets. I didn't hear the last part of your question. Your choice for where? Choice for what? Regrets about what? Oh, career regrets. I'm just holding the mic.
I don't think you're doing good. I don't think you're doing a good job in your career if you don't take time, especially after you've been in it for a while, to wonder what the other path would have been. I still get a little lump in my throat when I go in the doctor's office and wonder, I could have been making triple the money, and I think I could have done well at this. You always think of those, and are they regrets? If you let it go to the furthest extent and live a fantasy life of what might have been, then you reflect back on what is right now. And I think contentment, you're never 100% content. If you're 100% content, you're not growing in the job that you have right now.
I have a kind of interesting story that I think is relevant to this question. This year, for the first time, my parents have always told me, why do you do the jobs that you do? They don't make a lot of money. You could have done so much more with your life. I hear that quite often from my family. You could have done so much more. And it wasn't until recently that my parents came to an event here on campus. Might even make me a little teary. So they came to an event on campus, and my dad came up to me after the event, and he goes, I finally understand why you're doing what you're doing. And he's like, I think you're the only one of my kids who's got it. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, you're the only one who followed their heart. And he goes, even though you don't make what your brother makes and you didn't stay home like your sister did, he goes, what I will tell you is every day when you get up, I can see the joy in what you're doing, and you've passed that along to your kids. And so that was one of the best compliments I've ever gotten from my dad. And that was not one I ever expected. But for me, that was kind of confirmation to me that even though sometimes people tell you you should do something different, if you follow your heart, people know it. And I have a lot of people who say to me, I know you love what you do. And that's probably the best compliment, more than any income I could have ever had. So
I literally don't have any regrets. And that might be because I kind of had the chance to, work like in the banking sector for a long time. And I was like, oh, I like that. It's kind of fun. But, and then I was in the fitness industry. I really like that. But, and so I finally, once I was like, I'm going to do what I've wanted to do. I was like a 32-year-old freshman or something. And so I feel like at that point I had finally followed my heart and been like, I'm doing it. And like I have student loans, and I don't mean like student loans, I mean like student loans. But I don't regret those either. I'm like, I really, really like my job, and I have no regrets about coming to MCC either. I've really, really enjoyed every semester, every single one of my classes. I'm just like, this is great. And the smaller class size, I think the students that are here, I think play a part into all of that. It's been a good experience. And that was just a gut thing. I just followed my gut on that one. But, so yeah, if there's a theme, if you want to do it, just do it. Because I really don't have any regrets.
I came up with one. All right, so I thought about this. It's a great question. I like it. It took me a while to figure it out. I think the biggest regret I have with respect to, I'll go with college specifically, is that I was the kind of person that put my nose down and just did my stuff and could kind of figure it out. I looked at the path that said, hey, you want to get an accounting degree, you have to take these classes. And then after that, I was like, well, this is not what I want to do. And so I just picked another thing and took the classes to get the thing. And I regret not talking to people. I regret not using the resources and opportunities that the college environment afforded me. I could have gone and spoken with my teachers or instructors or TAs or anything. I didn't get involved in very many clubs and things. And now that I'm an adult, I don't know, I'm on the PTA and I'm sort of a character around where I live. And so I think that's my biggest regret, is waiting until I was an adult to kind of, I don't know, ask for help might not be the right word, but get other people's opinions, talk to people, become more involved. And so that's a regret. But regrets can always be, don't let them hold you back. I think Jeff was speaking to that really well earlier, and everybody else too.
Yes.
This is more a question for the English teacher, but how would I, what's the best way to go around about spreading around stuff that I'm not proud of enough to put a full effort into advertising, but that I think has some potential readership?
Oh, like your writing and stuff? I often in my creative writing classes, I try to get my students to submit to literary journals, which are run by colleges and universities most of the time. And it's a place where you can send your writing and a staff looks at it. And if they really like it, they publish it. And then you get to say, look, somebody said this was really good. So it's kind of a private way of being able to do it. You don't have to show it to everyone. But then once it's published, you can be like, okay, yeah, somebody thought this was good enough. So yeah, that's kind of a quiet way. Does that answer your question?
That guarantees at least the staff will read it, even if it's something they've never published?
Yeah, and sometimes they might just say, oh, this isn't right for us. But then sometimes they'll say, this isn't right for us, but this is actually really great, or something like that. So yeah, I think that's the best way, because you get people to look at it, but you aren't having to hear what everybody thinks about it. I don't know if that answers your question. Or I guess she calls it. Yeah.
You kind of addressed it when you were talking about reaching out to people and, trying to figure out kind of what you want to do instead of having blinders on. My question was kind of regarding that, as far as finding organizations or clubs, or kind of finding your tribe when you're in school. I'm, of course, an older student, and I still haven't found my tribe yet, but how important are those clubs? How important are those extracurriculars? And how helpful are they? Were they helpful to you all when you were in school to kind of narrow the path a little bit for you and focus and get to where you are now?
I like it. That's a good one. Most of the things I get involved in tend to be more recreational. I think that speaks to, we talked about happiness and contentment as being an important thing in our life that we need to think about. And so that's where I got most of the value from becoming more involved. And it also kind of fits my personality a little bit. With respect to kind of exploring career paths and things like that, I think I could have avoided, what became a hobby of going to school. That's an expensive hobby. By talking to people in a one-on-one, more of the people that were like the instructor types, and even some of my peers in the classes and whatnot. I don't know if I've done a great job of answering your question, but does anybody else have anything you want to?
I would say like right now, when you're trying to find your tribe, as you said, I wouldn't limit it to just activities here on the campus either, and the community activities. Right now, community clubs and activities are starved for people, and even if the club has as a mission goal, like if it's I don't know, the JCs or the Rotary or whatever, almost all those clubs have multiple committees, and they are starved to have people head up those committees. And most of the time you can make those committees anything you want, whether it be scholarships, whether it be outreach, whether it be multicultural kind of things. And so I would say, looking at some of the more generic clubs, here or actually in the community, showing up at a meeting, they will bend over backwards to welcome you. I will guarantee it. And then trying to see if within those particular clubs there are some committees, there are some things that you are interested in doing. You'll find some friends, you'll find your way, and you will be absolutely welcomed. And right now, those clubs, for a wide variety of reasons, membership is really taking a dive. Many of those clubs are ending. I would say do that, explore it that way. Don't just limit it to the clubs here, but throughout the entire community. You will be extremely surprised, I guarantee it, how welcoming they will be and excited that somebody's coming in and wanting to explore some options.
To add to that, pay attention to what's going on in your like specific degree or department, I guess, where you're studying. They might hold events like, I don't know, an astronomy class might be like, we're getting together to look at the stars on Friday. Like, show up to that, because those are the people you know. You're in classes with them over and over because they're studying the same thing as you. I was an older student, and I ended up getting involved in a bunch of things that the English department was doing. And it's funny that you say tribe, because we literally have a Facebook chat group labeled Tribe, and we've all remained friends because we did so many things together within our department. So I would say pay attention to people who are on your same degree path, like what school events are they going to, what is your department offering as like little gatherings or whatever.
I would say, I'd say this a lot to students, is that get involved in anything that you can. Just think about, like, when you were in high school, there was probably some days in high school where you were like, oh, I do not want to go to school today. But you were like, hey, one of my best friends is in that class. So a lot of times we show up for other people, even when we can't show up for ourselves. And so it's just been kind of proven that the more you get involved while you're going to school, the more motivation you'll have to keep coming back. And sometimes it's just nice to have somebody that you're like, they're going through the same thing you are, or they're having the same struggles as you. I would tell you that that is probably one of the best things I ever did for myself, being an older student, going back, was getting involved in things at the school and just learning new people. I've used that as a resource many, many times, like when I missed a class, like, hey, you're in this class. What did we learn? You know, that kind of thing. It just makes you just feel like you're more part of the team, and gives you a desire and motivation to kind of come back.
All right, last question.
This is just out of curiosity because I only know the Shepherds. What all do you guys teach, or what clubs do you?
She came in a little late, so if you want to say, you can.
Me or?
You guys all go ahead.
Okay, so here I do a lot of Comp 1, Comp 2, Intro to Lit. Like I said, I will be teaching creative writing. I've also taught like grammar classes and different kinds of creative writing. So it's kind of whatever the school offers is what I get to teach. But so mostly the intro, like English classes that you think of when you think of English majors, basically.
I teach the maths, pretty much whatever we need taught. Honestly, I don't head up any clubs here or anything. I'm around quite a bit. Come see me. But
I'm the director of the powerlifting club here. I'm also for anybody, and this we don't have a major, so we kind of have an informal major. If anybody that wants to get into modeling, I've been involved in that most of my life. Heavily involved in that now. Not getting a lot of gigs. But I appreciate that. I was not involved in fitness like the English teacher was. In fact, I resent her even bringing that up. But no, I'm just anything history or government I'm involved in. Through the last 30 years, I've been involved in a wide variety of the clubs. They are good. You get to learn people here. Phi Theta Kappa, I think, is a club that doesn't get. I think more people qualify for that than we get to join. I'm always surprised at how uncompetitive the student senate elections are. I wish there were like 20 people for 2 slots so that there was a lot more energy that way. And nothing against what they're doing. I think they're doing a great job. But I mean, for the students getting involved in that, we don't have as many activities as we used to. Sometimes you have to make them. But if anybody in here aspires to be a model, I'm here to tell you that there is a whole world out there for you in modeling, and it's made me a lot of who I am today, which is essentially a nobody.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to close discussion for now, since we're getting towards the end. So we have a QR code. If you would want to scan that, there is a prize at the end. Well, we're drawing like one person, but it's worth a try. So I want to thank you all for being here today for this conversation. We hope this panel has sparked new ideas and helped you see that your academic interests, whether in math, English, speech, psychology, or history and government, it can be powerful stepping stones towards a fulfilling career. Our faculty has shared not just knowledge, but lived experiences and practical advice. If there's one takeaway, it's this: your path doesn't have to be linear, and it doesn't have to be decided today. What matters is staying curious, asking questions, and being open to where your passions might lead. As you leave today, consider connecting with one of our panelists or making an appointment with our career service coordinator, Ms. Shauna Shields, to continue your career exploration. Maybe even consider exploring a class outside your comfort zone. Sometimes the spark you're looking for is just one conversation or one course away. Be sure to fill out the survey, obviously with the QR code. Thank you very much for doing that. And all surveys received will be entered into a drawing for a prize. Again, thank you for joining us today.